Everybody, welcome back to the channel. I know it's the afternoon and we typically don't go live at this time, but I needed to give you an update on everything that went down this morning and why the video got set to private. We'll get into that at the end of the show today. And also, I need to explain to you what's going on with this most recent Donald Trump press briefing. Now, Trump wasn't at the press briefing, but several people from Trump's cabinet got up on stage and talked about some things that we need to talk about briefly, and then I'll get into why this morning's show was pulled down and why I pulled it down. And it's pretty serious, and so stay tuned for the end of the show. Good morning, or good afternoon. Gosh, I'm still stuck in the morning. Good afternoon, everybody. So what went on at the press briefing? Well, here it is, and it's on YouTube. This just went down a couple hours ago. And they talked about making American health again. Making America healthy again was one of the themes. And literally this 30-day thing, they said, we're 30 days into the presidency. And they actually mentioned the words warp speed, that everything is happening at warp speed. Now, it's interesting because that topic, of course, is related to the vaccines. Why do they keep using it to describe the speed of Trump and how fast he's getting things done? So that's curious, to say the least. And it suggests that there will be a future component of the Smack the Nations that will become part of our lives. I think everybody understands that they're waiting for the other shoe to drop with this whole situation. Let's get into some of this. Now, I'm not going to play any of this, but you can click on the link if you need to and watch this through. It's probably something you need to watch. But what was mentioned was making America healthy again, and they want to combat childhood disease. Now, we all know, as I always say, right, that childhood disease comes from our diets. So unless Trump's going to overhaul the food supply and give us healthy food, roll back some of these things in terms of regulations, because right now he's rolling back regulations. Things are only going to get worse with less requirements on labeling, with less control over the food supply, and them allowing these things to creep in. We're already seeing the Smack the Nations starting to try to enter our food supply. They're already studying mRNA vaccines for our food, which will soon likely be approved to go into our beef and chicken, which is what we talked about in this morning's show. And if we could be maybe more like Europe in their regulations, where they don't allow GMO and they don't allow some of these things into their food supply, then and only then are we going to combat childhood disease. That's the only way to make America healthy again. So there's some mixed messaging going on here, right? More control, or less control, less regulation, but that's going to make things worse for childhood disease. Now, they also talked about fighting inflation, which I thought was interesting because, $6.6 trillion was spent under Trump, and you can say that that was because of VidCo-19. And look, I get that, but now we look back and we all realize that we didn't need to spend all that money. And the key is always Africa. Africa is the key to understanding why we didn't need to spend all that money for warp speed. Africa is the key. Why is Africa the key? With the lowest Smack of the Nation rates and the lowest death rates in the entire world. So there wasn't mass death because people didn't get smack-the-nated, correct? So it sounds all really good. These people are really polished and they're delivering these profound messages, and it feels like a lot of things are getting done, and there are a lot of good things happening, but make no mistake, it's also mixed up with the facts, and the facts are that not is all what it seems. Now, here's breaking information. They agreed to send out stimulus checks. Now, they wouldn't say this unless they were pretty sure they were going to do it. And so now, and this is why I needed to do the show today, because we talked about that this morning, about these stimulus checks from the savings from Doge. Well, guess what? Now they're saying they're going to give checks to the American people from the savings. They're saying that they're going to give 20% to the American people, 20% is going to go to the deficit, and the rest is going to advance to the next year or something to keep getting down the deficit. Sounds great, doesn't it? And I can see the Jasara people jumping up and down right now saying, see, we told you, Trump's going to give us all our money back. Well, it kind of seems like that, isn't it? But to what end? And this is what we're going to have to see. Now, there are a lot of people that disagree with us receiving a check. They say we should get our deficit spent down before a single check goes out. I tend to agree with that. Not a lot of good things happen when you start handing out a bunch of money. What can happen is people won't want to work at that point. And now you have less people in the job market because they're sitting back getting a check, right? So we've seen this backfire. We saw it happen during the spam-demic where people, were like, oh, just coasting for a while, weren't they? Until they absolutely had to go back to work. Now, what else is going on? Well, they talked a little bit about world peace. And between Ukraine and Russia, I guess everyone's now come to the table. Zelensky and Putin, and they're going to make a deal to end all this. And that's good news. That's great news, actually. The war should have never started, like Trump said. Should have never started. So we'll see how all this shakes out. Now, in turn, Trump's going to strike a deal with Zelensky to produce rare earth metals. And in the press briefing, they mentioned aluminum specifically. They said that Ukraine has enough aluminum to supply all of American needs. So they're going to strike some kind of deal. They also talked about making the rest of the NATO countries pay their fair share. Okay, so that's going to happen as well. Now, what else is going on? Well, one guy spilled the beans. Let me see if I can show you his picture because it's kind of funny. Let's see this guy over here. This guy spilled the beans. They were talking about IRS cuts, right? And they were like, well, what are we going to do? The IRS generates revenue for the government. And if we don't have any people in there, collecting all this revenue, then what's going to happen? Well, this guy spilled the beans. He said that they are working on improving their IT at the IRS. So this is, what is this? Digital governance, you guys, artificial intelligence running everything. And you could tell as soon as the words came out of his mouth, he was like, oh, I wasn't supposed to say that. So there's the update on the press briefing. I don't want to make this show too long today, but as you noticed, I put the video on private from this morning. We were talking about DNA vaccines in chickens. And I told you that there were other conditions that chickens got, not avian bird flu, but other conditions that they were already vaccinating for. Innovax was the name of the product, and it is a DNA technology. And then we showed you how DNA technology, they admit, can actually change the DNA. So that was this morning's show. Now, the reason why I put it on private is because several of you, let me go back into the chat. Several of you called Rose Acre Farms. They were the ones we determined were likely using this Innovax vaccination, right? And the one person in particular came back into the comments, and this is what kind of prompted everything for me to pull the video, because I wasn't sure, because, sometimes Google lies, right? So one of you said, Casey, I called Rose Acre Farms and they said they do not vaccinate their chickens. And I was like, okay. So I paused. I said, okay, I'm not here to spread disinformation. So I myself called Rose Acre Farms. I talked to a woman named Amanda. And the first thing she said was, are you Enter the Stars YouTube channel? I said, yes, I am. She says, many people have been calling, asking us if we vaccinate our birds. And we do not vaccinate our birds for avian bird flu. And I said, well, that wasn't really the question. I was polite to her, but I said, that really wasn't the question. The question is, how do you control other conditions with the birds? And she admitted that they had, in fact, in the past, she said specifically, quote, vaccinated for a specific Marek's disease, M-A-R-E-K apostrophe S, Marek's disease. Now, that just so happened to be the vaccine called Innovax, and that's what it vaccinates for, is Marek's. But she didn't say specifically that it was Inovax. And it's important to know this for sure because Inovax is the DNA smaxine. It's what can mess with the DNA of the chicken. Now, we're not saying that this is, I don't know for sure this can affect humans. I just said my subscribers are concerned. We want to know what's in our food, right? Regardless of what you say about the safety and efficacy of these substances, the minute you say DNA or mRNA, we have the right to know how foods have, if they contain that or not, correct? So, even though she denied having smaxinated for avian flu, she admitted that they smaxinate for Merrick's. So, she took my phone number and my email and she said she would get back to me to confirm exactly what they're using. And if it is in fact Inovax and aligns with what our video this morning said, then I will put the video back up. The problem is if I spread this information, I get fact checked, I'll get a strike and we'll get kicked off YouTube for a week. This is why I put the video on private. So I'm trying to do the right thing to take the high road. I mean, so as soon as I hear back from her, I'll put the video back up. Okay. You guys can watch it. I know a lot of you didn't get to watch it, but that's why it's been taken down. So I'm in a holding pattern. I'm kind of waiting to hear back from her. So thank you for your diligence and fact checking me. That's why we're here. And, so yeah, Amanda was like, yeah, all these people are calling. And I was like, well, that's good. You know, you guys should be transparent. So I hope everything shakes out. And I told her people are concerned. We want to know if there's DNA or mRNA stuff in our food supply. And so she was pretty open to that. So we'll wait and hear back from her. Now, the specific things that this Inovax treats for, in addition to Merrick's, is infectious bursal disease, short, it's IBD for short, also Newcastle disease, ND for short, and infectious laryngotracheitis, ILT for short. Those are all the conditions that it tests for. Okay. So there's the update on that. We'll be back tomorrow with Donald Trump and how he fits into the book of Revelation. Is there anything you guys want to talk about before we pop off of here? I didn't want to be on here too long because I know we're going to be back in the morning. Looks like about a quarter of you are here. You're just like, what is he doing going live right now? All right, I'm in the chat just for a minute to do a short Q&A for about 5 or 10 minutes. Yeah, now it's not a bad thing that several of you called. I'm glad you called because it helped confirm what I was saying. She admitted it. It's just we have to make sure it's the right one. Okay? Because if it's not, I'm just going to have to take the video down. And then we're back to square one. What we do know is that they're pushing with this mRNA and DNA technology. And I can tell you this as well, that I specifically looked up Roseacre Farms and they were begging the feds to be able to smaccinate the chickens. So they were been pushing for that as soon as this bird flu hit. And now it's been approved, but it's a different technology. It's not mRNA or DNA. It's the Zoetis brand, which is killed virus. Okay, so it's different. So I just wanted to be very clear. I'm not here to cause alarm. I'm here to tell you guys the truth. All right, what else is going on? Yeah, it's in Indiana. All right. Okay. Yeah, it's funny. We get like a different group in here this morning or this afternoon. Kind of. That's good. Yeah, we need to know this stuff, right? With tracheal laryngitis is a side effect. Cows can't moo and roosters can't crow. Oh, wow. Thanks for that, Joy. Well, I trust what she tells me. Yes, because, they have to be transparent. This is a food supply. This is pretty major. Like all this stuff has to be approved first by the feds before they can use it on their flocks. Okay. So they can't really lie about it. So don't call people. Well, I can't fault people for fact checking me. I think I even asked you guys to fact check me. So I don't fault people for doing that. We should always seek the truth. And as long as I'm not saying anything that's wrong information, then everything should be on the up and up, right? So I would never want someone not to check up on these things. Oh, Amanda did say that she watched or started to watch the video before I pulled it down, and she knew about the video, and she tried to actually say that the information that you're saying is not correct. And I said, well, I never said that you guys vaccinated for avian flu. I never said that in my video, and I didn't. As you guys, you guys watched it. I said, we're talking about not that. We're talking about the other conditions. That's what we're asking about. So she said she would check on it. So I don't think they would lie about something like that once I hear back from her. Now, if I don't hear back from her, I'm not going to put the video back up, because if I'm wrong, then, we're going to get a strike. So yes, we're going to be talking about the no hide laws tomorrow, Cindy. Yeah, that's probably, yes, Joanne. That's a great point. Yes. You can fact check, just don't drop the channel name, okay? Because they're gonna know exactly where to go to mess with us or whatever, right? So for now we're safe because the video's on private. But thank you for that. You're absolutely right, Joanne. And I wasn't trying to you know, I appreciate that you want to defend the channel. That means a lot. I just don't want to discourage people who want to check on this stuff. All right. Well, I guess we're going to pop off here, you guys. At least this video's up and you guys can find it. And hopefully this was helpful, the press briefing and the explanation about this morning show. And I'll see you guys bright and early in the morning. Much love to everybody. Take care.